Manchester United. They welcomed Ruben Amorim on the touchline, on the sidelines for the first time over the weekend in the game away to Ipswich.
Mm-hmm.
Initial thoughts on the reign of Ruben Amorim?
He did say there'll be teething problems, there'll be pain while we learn to play in the new system, while we learn to adapt. And that was pain that I saw on the weekend. We scored first, and then it was just a laboursome performance after that. And I think that's just down to players figuring out their roles. Players also, I mean, there's certain things you can't do about certain players. Like, I'd give the shirt off my back to see a United side without Johnny Evans. Like, shout out to him, thank you for the service, but that's not how we move forward, guys. At that age, aren't there players from the youth who can step up in that particular role? For me, come on, guys, you're right. So there are things like that in terms of personnel that needs to be shuffled across or maybe changed if we're going in a different direction altogether. But all in all, I think I like the partnership of Ahmad, Rashford, and Garnacho. I think you've got good footballers there, because I think that system sort of isolates.
No. Slow it down. Bring it back.
What should I be saying?
Well, hold on. You included Rashford in that in terms of a good partnership. You reckon Rashford has the kind of future that will lead Manchester United to success in this team? I know he scored the goal, right? But for the rest of that game and for a while now, going back to last season and the season prior to that, had a great season, and the stretches before that. He's not been great in the Manchester United shirt. You believe in Marcus Rashford still under Ruben Amorim to turn it around?
To turn it around and not get that 30 goal season that he had, but to turn it around and give us 15 to 20. And I say that because if we're being honest, right, he has a longer resume. He's had more time in the league where you can say, well, actually, if you look at your body of work, hasn't been that fantastic. But has Højlund really been fantastic? Is Xerxes the guy? You don't really think so, right? And I think in the kind of formation that they have playing with just, I think, Bruno Fernandes as the assistant to the attacking football, apart from the wing backs who are going to bomb down, you need guys who are very versatile. And I don't think Højlund is versatile. I don't think Xerxes gives us more in terms of going forward and in terms of being a goal poacher or a goal threat. I think he works well in that 9.5 role, but I don't think this system needs a 9.5. So I think in terms of how we're looking to play in the 3-4-3, is your best option. And so I think of the parts that are available, that's who you go with. But if you go into the transfer market, you can find plenty of other options besides Rashford. But in terms of what we have right now, I think he's the best option there. And I think and looking lost in that system, then you have that performance once again from Casemiro and Eriksen, where you're like, yeah, it's not the guys at that age, with that speed, with that profile. And I think once they get the footballing right, once they understand what's required of them, they'll look good again. So, I mean, I know I'm saying a lot. It's just game number one, and they've only had 2 training sessions. So I think there's much to adapt, much to learn. But I think we saw glimpses of what they're trying to do, and I think that's what we're looking to get from Amorim, an idea, a pattern, a philosophy where we can say, this is the Man United way under Amorim. So I think in game number 2 or 3, we'll be more critical. With this one, we can't press the panic button or stress too much.
Yeah, Chuck, I think you did see the blueprint. You did see the 3 centre-backs and the wing-backs, one of those wing-backs very early on in the match, that being Ahmad. He did well on the sidelines and then provided the assist for the goal by Rashford. But my great big takeaway is I don't think these are the players, right? I think what needs to happen, there needs to be a clarity. What's going to happen 2 years' time if Amorim is still here and there's progress, right? And you find yourself 2 seasons from now where United are back towards the top or challenging for the title. We're going to have those screenshots that always pop up when a team was in the doldrums and then they did well, and looking back at the first team that he coached, and we're going to like, how the hell did those players play for Manchester United? And like, oh my goodness, Ruben Amorim has come a long way with this team. Because yeah, in a bunch of those positions, right, I do think upgrades are needed, and there's a thinking as well around some of those players in terms of what to do with them, even some of the better players. So in the immediate future, of course, you cannot have Evans. You cannot have Johnny Evans, who I saw pressing in the Ipswich half, and of course he got turned and exposed for pace after he did that. You have to have Martinez. Martinez is going to come in there. You believe Martinez is going to come in there as the left centre back, and also where Mazraoui was playing as the right centre back. You believe Yoro, when he's back, he's going to be playing in that engine room in the midfield duo. Ugarte has to play. I think at this point he's ahead of Casemiro, also because he's familiar with this coach and how this coach wants to play. And when Kobe Mainu is back, he's going to take the place of Eriksson. Ahmad, I love Ahmad, man. I love Ahmad, and yeah, Anthony needs to be the backup to Ahmad going forward. I don't, unless something dramatically happens with the form of Ahmad, I don't want to see Anthony play ahead of Ahmad. The questions are there for the other wing back spot, where Dalo was playing, right? You know, like Dalo's my favorite United player. I just like Dalo, like mainly because of what he does going forward, but didn't quite give you the same as Ahmad gave you on the other wing, and I'm curious. Is he going to continue playing in that spot? And that's something I need to find out, because Ruben Amorim was on record saying that he sees his wing backs as defenders. And yet on the one wing you have Ahmad, who is not a defender, and he struggled a bit with his positioning when Ipswich were attacking. And on the other you have someone who you consider as a traditional defender in the form of Dalo. So I want to know, is he going to keep that, where one of them is more proficient as a defender and the other is more proficient as an attacker, or he's going to have the same kind of profile as those wing backs? And it's curious to see what happens with Shaw. You know, is he going to slot in as an option at left centre back, or is he going to play as one of the wing backs? And then the other thing that stood out for me, Chuck, was Bruno Fernandes. Right, he looked lost for me in everything that was happening out there, because of course he started as one of the two behind the striker in the 3-4-2-1. But then he wasn't getting much of the ball, and then he dropped deeper. But then when he drops deeper and is playing those passes, the person who's supposed to be receiving those passes is Bruno Fernandes. He can't be playing passes to himself. And I'm curious in terms of what ultimately is his position here. Is he going to be one of the two in the midfield, or is he going to be one of the two behind the striker? And since he's arrived at Manchester United, he's been the talisman. He's been the best player at Manchester United. And I think a Manchester United that is good under current circumstances, they need Bruno Fernandes to be his absolute best self and to have his fingerprints all over what Manchester United are doing. And then there's the question of the striker. Rashford is it for now. You saw Højlund and Zirkzee come in. It's like, I don't know, are they going to play together? As you question, who plays as the 9, who plays behind the striker between those two. So in attack, there are big question marks, and I think that's where you're going to see reinforcements. But overall, it is of course the very early stages of what is a major rebuild. The coach definitely needs time. But for me, as I'm saying, the standout is there's a bunch of those players who won't be playing for Manchester United long term, and then it's curious to see those who have not yet quite returned from injury, when they do come back, and you imagine that they'll be first choices, how they perform and how United perform when they're back in the lineup.
I think lastly to close out, I think with Bruno Fernandes, what the coach does stress is that he wants to retain a lot of the ball, and Bruno plays a lot of long passes, a lot of Hollywood passes, where you like a bit more control, a bit more conservative football, where you don't have to always look for the person. So I think we're trying to play a very heavy position-based type of football, and I think that would suggest that the personnel will change as well. So we'll see how that adapts and how that goes. But I think if we have more of the ball, more control, it should yield better results. But let's see if United can learn this way of playing.